guys, what's going on? It's Dan, and I am joined today again, as always, by Ryan, and we are here for the Week 9 Red Division breakdown for the MDL. How are you doing, Ryan?
Doing good. Today we decided on Steel Type Week. We got some great candidates here. Steelix has skill in its name. Laron's probably one of the ugliest middle evolutions out there. We've got Owen Wilson saying, wow. We got our Klefki in the corner because people really liked it when Klefki was introduced in Gen 6. And then we have right there in the top corner, we got a little Primal Dialga. Just kind of chilling, looking like it swallowed something wrong. So,
Yeah, I don't know what people's problem with Klefki was. I didn't really play Gen 6 competitive much, but I did hop on Showdown every once in a while for fun, and, stuff like Thunderwave, Swagger, and then switch into Togekiss with Air Slash, like, it just felt fair.
we like fair Pokemon.
But moving on, let's go ahead and look at the matches. So, just looking at the team sheets here, the 6 that we see from Charles are about the 6 you would expect from him. He's got a lot of his offensive options. No Lele is a bit of a shock, but maybe not in this particular matchup. And then the Audino to counter the Trick Room. And as for Jess, you see a lot of her standard stuff, but you do see the Thievul without the Tapu Koko, which is pretty interesting. Any thoughts before we hop into our notes?
Not a ton. I mean, Dina, not Jess, because you said Jess on accident. Oops. Dina, has a bit of a different team, but I mean, she actually has shown the Vanillux. I think she's shown Vanillux Tauros pair before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like not something too crazy. It should have at least been a little bit on Charles's radar. So we move on.
Yeah, and I do think it was because he did discuss the crit potential and the just maxing Tauros at one point. But yeah, well, I'll start with my notes for this game. Matt, I am going to read the hostage note you sent me. I promise not to discuss RNG unless I mention that other people make plays that are not related to RNG. But yeah, there was a lot of RNG this set, and I don't really think that's debatable. In game 1, Dina had 3 of the 5 possible confused turns hit themselves in confusion, including getting a double confuse her first turn after setting Smite. She got a key double protect in game 2 while Charles missed his double protect. And then Charles got a rock side flinch in game 3 that seemed pretty huge too. So there was just a lot of RNG chicanery all around on this one. Not to say that people didn't play well, because people played well, and part of their plan may have been that RNG was involved. However, RNG was involved in the outcome of all 3 games to some extent. Please don't yell at me, Matt. Alright, so I also thought the Scarf Nidoqueen was a really nice call from Charles, because that'll be able to outspeed if he thought the Koko was coming. It would have been able to pick up a lot of kills on that with Sludge Bomb. It's a quick threat into some Hatterene sets, even if she speed swaps it, so I think Scarf Nidoqueen looked really good. Dina did just try to absolutely dunk on Charles since she locked top 3 with the Nasty Plot Thievul set, and I was all about it and I wanted to see it because I've run Weakness Policy Thievul before, and Nasty Plot Thievul feels like the same thing, and that is something that the world deserves. And then looking at Weavile from Charles, like, it always seems to do good things, but every time he uses it, he just clicks triple axle. I'm like, man, there's about a 28% chance that this goes very poorly for him, and so I don't really know if Weavile is great or awful. But what do you think about this set, Ryan?
The music stand recording. Okay, hold on though. This is my tangent. Dan can talk about hacks, whatever. I don't care. This is where I step in. Now, Charles, you're a musician. Have a good music stand. What the fuck was that? That was such a cheap ass music stand. I was worried your Switch was gonna fall off of it, because back when I had one of those, my music fell off of it all the damn time. Get a good one, my guy. Have some self-respect. All right, that's my tangent. It was pretty hype though. I really like, on a more serious note, I really liked the Ally Switch Vanillux. I think that was a really good call on Dina's end. And I have to say, every time Charles maxes that Drifblim, it does kind of a shocking amount of work. He actually did manage to proc the Weakness Policy this time, but even without proccing Weakness Policy, I'm usually pretty impressed with what it can pull off. I really liked the Burning Jealousy tech on the Thievul. Obviously, it was a nasty plot set, but even just having Burning Jealousy to help you handle the Genesect if it went for like a Steel Spike or some kind of boosting or a Quake, I think that was really cool. I thought that was really smart, smart tech. I do wish it could have plotted. I was very hyped to see Anchor Point Tauros. I know I was saying that, Tauros has uses that aren't Anchor Point, crit set, and Dina has shown that throughout the season. I am excited that before the regular season ends, we did get to see a max Anchor Point Tauros. That was pretty fun. I really liked all of the pivoting from both players this set. Just in general, it felt like both of them were consistently trying to keep their end games in place. And it felt to me like the end games came pretty close all 3 games. Definitely, as Dan was saying, there was a little bit of stuff there. But I think in general, the pivoting in order to kind of control things, get themselves in the most optimal position was really good from both players. And I think Weavile's great, Dan. I've been pretty convinced on it every time that I've seen it come. So those are kind of my notes. Just nice win to Charles this week. Dina played a really, really solid set, though. I was a big fan of it. And yeah.
All right, but moving on to our next set, we have Jess versus Noah. Team sheets here, you see Noah doesn't have the Tyranitar or the Marowak, so that's very interesting. He's dipping into some of the lower tier mons. And Jess also doesn't have her Moltres, but she did bring her new Mudsdale, which is pretty interesting. And we see the Magnezone coming back, which is a very interesting call into the Excadrill team, but it also has Gyarados, so I kind of like it. Any thoughts before we move on?
No. This is a bit of spoiler for the game, but man, I want to see Galarian Corsola hit field at some point. It's shown up in team preview like 4 weeks in a row, Noah. Come on, give me a little something. Anyway.
Okay, I'll let you take this one first.
Yeah, so one thing I did like that I just kind of saw, I didn't obviously get to see full pace, I just watched the games. I do like that Jess had Bullet Seed on the Mew specifically for the Mudsdale, presumably. I thought that was cool. That's a neat way to proc it, because I was kind of wondering how Jess would get around that. That seems like a really cool method. Even though it didn't actually end up happening during the game. I just thought it was nifty. I think that the Gyarados Max was really key. Games 2 and 3 to Noah winning. I think he just played it very smartly and he pivoted it well. I think that if he hadn't gone for the Airstream when he did in Game 2, Jess wins because the Scarf Magnezone, which I think was an amazing call, would have picked up the Gyarados from there. So I think going for that Airstream was a very smart move. Scarf Mag felt really solid. I thought that was a really good bring. I think maxing it was also generally a pretty solid call. The Airstream boosts, though, did prove hard for Jess's team to handle, which does relate to something that I've just kind of generally noticed about Jess's team in the latter half of the season. We kind of saw it with Johnny, we saw it with my game into her, and now we're seeing it a little bit into Noah's game into her, even though his speed tiers aren't as initially good. But in general, I've noticed that for a lot of her later season, Jess is having trouble when people have Pokemon that just beat 105, and that has been, I think, proving to be kind of a consistent issue. I really like the War Turtle Gengar lead. That was kind of cool. And also with Noah, his team was kind of set up weird. It was mostly like setup and redirection. So it was like almost every, because he had Calm Mind Alcremie, he had Dragon Dance Gyarados, and then he had Nasty Plot Gengar. So it seems like his general plan was to click Follow Me into Jess, and then click a boosting move and try to sweep. I'm really shocked he didn't go for it with Gengar Game 1. I felt like he could have maxed Gengar like a lot of times in Game 1, where it would have been pretty smart to, and he didn't. So just, that was interesting. It was also it was kind of a new way of building his team that I haven't really seen him do yet. In general, this was a pretty good set. I really liked the zone play. I think the Mew set was kind of cool. And yeah, that's kind of all I really have for it.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing to take away is that Noah did a great job of recognizing that just getting Gyarados to +1, knowing it has Wakan Berry, it really just dealt with so much of Jess's team so effectively next to that Excadrill. And finding ways to do that in games 2 and 3 really helped him pick up the set. For just building the white herb over the focus sash on the Urshifu, I don't know, it just felt a little weird. Like, I understand you're trying to not get intimidated by the Gyarados and then you're trying to Thunder Punch it. But,
You're dead
I
to
don't
the
know.
airstream.
Yeah, you're dead to the Airstream. I know you're faster than it, but I don't know if the Thunder Punch is picking up the KO unless you're maxing it, if the Gyarados maxes. They both feel bad in front of Gyarados. I'll put it like that. And I don't know which one would feel less bad, but Focus Sash would work better for things that aren't Gyarados, like a setup Gengar, whereas the White Herb only works for the Intimidate Gyarados. I really wish Mudsdale would have hit the field, but it makes sense that it didn't because Marowak and T-Tar didn't come. But
yeah, if those had come, I think it definitely would have.
Yeah, but overall, it was another pretty solid set. Good comeback win from Noah with his adjustments to games 2 and 3. And then we're going to quickly talk about a set that will happen later, which is you versus Johnny. You two are impossible to schedule with, so you're going to be playing Wednesday.
Yeah, that was just kind of a whole lot of unfortunate circumstances back to back. But we will play the game. It'll be a musical masterpiece. Now, on to Dan and Raz. So here we see Dan. Dan, you've used a variant of this team before, I think. I think you've actually brought these exact 6 before. I think into Jess, actually. So I don't know if Magmortar was there or not, but I think it was. And then Raz has, I think, the most interesting team we've seen from him all season. Torn, Executor, Grimmsnarl, Jellicent, Keldeo, and Behem, which is that's a really cool team. One thing I talked about a little in the and kind of our loose sort of PRs last week was I feel like for this late season, Raz could really dip into some of his lower tiers and diversify his team a little bit, and he actually really came out swinging with that this week. This was a very close game, so we can kind of get into it. This was the highest, like I was saying, highest Mon variety I've seen from Raz yet. I was super happy to see it. I feel like if he had brought a lot of his standard modes, he would have gotten beat pretty hard this week, and he did not. You prepped pretty hard for, I think, a lot of the stuff that he normally was bringing, and then, like, Raz came out swinging with something totally different, and I think it threw off your game plan a bit. I really liked the double Frisk lead. Both of you knew everybody's items game 1. That was very funny.
Although, if you do listen to Raz's commentary, he's like, I should know what item this thing is. I frisked it, but I blinked.
I thought the game 1 pivoting from Dan was pretty solid. It was kind of key to keeping him in it. I feel like he would have potentially lost game 1 had he not pivoted through his Mons and made some good plays there. I feel like without that, I think he would have been kind of back-footed. Man, Raz's prep this week was so good. The White Herb offensive Grimmsnarl was just an amazing call. I was huge into that, and I really liked the Strength Sap Jellicent. You're kind of taking something that Charles did to you with the Zamazenta endgame and applying it again, which I thought was fantastic. That said, those Zamazenta endgames are super tough. I feel like by game 3, Dan had a pretty solid plan for how to get his late game Zamazenta in relatively safely after his lost game 2, which it's hard to handle. I think the game 3 adjustment to the Prim was a pretty fantastic call on Dan's end. I loved Raz's set variety. I loved his Mons this week. I loved his play, and I absolutely think he was in it the entire set. The one thing that I think that you did, Dan, that I think really kind of overall is what got you the win, is you went, wait a minute, this Executor is coming in, and then the Keldeo, and then the Grimmsnarl. All of those are weak to Fairy. Primarina goes hard if I go for the max option for this game 3. And then when all 3 of those Mons come out and they're all weak to Fairy, it's kind of tough. Like, if you're on Raz's end, it's a little tough because now you're suddenly a lot more back-footed into a Fairy type attacker than usual because you're usually, packing that Metagross. So I think that was a really good game 3 adjust. I'm not really sure what I would have had Raz do differently that game 3. I think he played it overall pretty solid, though. This was a really great set. I think, in general, this set and the set with Dina and Charles were probably my favorite this week.
So just not the set with Jess and Noah.
The set with Justin Noah was good, but it was
No, I'm kidding. I get it.
it was good. It just that it wasn't as memorable as these two. These two had those other two had some interesting stuff.
Yeah, but I will say you're right. I prepped hard for Metagross, Regidrago, Marowak, and Keldeo offenses. He brought one of them, and it was Keldeo, and it was a coaching bot. So I wasn't really sure what he was going offensively. Max slow prim for game 3, yeah, that was I think that was a good adjustment based on what he had because he never showed overgrowth, so I didn't think he had power whip. Game 1, my plan actually was, I'm going to chunk this Jellicent, but it'll survive this Poltergeist. It'll set Trick Room for me, and then I'll just be able to max my slower Primarina because it's Iron Ball in the back, and it'll be slower than his entire team and kill everything. And then I killed the Jellicent. I'm like, my speed control plan is gone because I didn't know that this would kill it. Like, since when does Gourgeist one-shot Jellicent?
That's because Jellicent is weird. I can tell you, this is actually kind of funny. I've built with Jellicent before, when Maxwell and I were doing NBC. The thing that you'll run into whenever you draft Jellicent yourself, or whenever you use it, is that its defenses are very one way or the other. You kind of have to decide whether you're gonna eat physical hits or whether you're gonna eat the special hits. And you really can't, split investment doesn't work with it super well when you're calcing. You kind of end up needing to pick one or the other. And considering Raz had Strength Sap on it, I'm assuming that he was like, okay, I'll invest as much as I need to not get too hit KO'd by Crunch.
Because it survived a Max Phantasm from a Primarina.
Yeah,
but I did 2-hit KO with Crunch still, I think.
So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's just some Jellicent calking.
After my match with Charles, I'm very well aware of every Pokemon that has Strength Sap because that's the best thing against Zamazenta late game. But as long as I'm able to get rid of those, Zamazenta, even if it's like in a 1v3 position like him, I'm like, I'm still in this. Let's play it out. I could come back from this because Zamazenta just feels so oppressive once I'm able to get Max over with.
Right.
But yeah, that's basically it for this week. Do you have any closing thoughts on the 3 games that we saw?
I liked all of them. They're very good. We are kind of hitting the end of the season. Things are mattering. Hope you all enjoyed the playoff bracket thing. We're kind of entering the last week now. I am sorry I have not played Johnny yet. We will cover that next week, probably right at the beginning to kind of make up for that. And we will, at that point, be able to talk a little bit about playoff picture. So, great week, everybody. Looking forward to this upcoming one. Out of division, I believe. So we will actually be with the other hosts for this next breakdown. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.